Right, so today let's delve into the possibility of the M2 iPad Pros launching at the spring event. And so let's delve into it, but first, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so recently I delved into a Eurasian database filing that of course uncovered some new iPads and iPhone models. Now many of us, including myself, did of course think this would be the iPad Air 5 and the iPhone SE3, but the very intelligent iCave Dave, great guy, great channel, check him out, but he made a pretty good point on Twitter that made me think these model numbers might not just be for these two products. And specifically, Dave's referring to the 11 model numbers we have for the iPad Air 5. Now initially I thought the model numbers represented the colours, cellular versions for specific countries, and the Wi-Fi version of the iPad Air 5. However, I did do some research on these model numbers and found out colours do not play a part in these model numbers. Instead, it solely focuses on the connectivity, so that means each iPad can only have 4 variants. Those are Wi-Fi, cellular for the Chinese market, cellular for the North American market, and global cellular models. Now this does perfectly line up with the iPhone model numbers. We have 3 of them, and that should be the 5G versions for different markets. But with the iPad Air 5, there's actually way more than we need. And so that means we have 7 other model numbers that aren't the iPad Air 5. And so that got Dave thinking that these model numbers could be for the new iPad Pros and they could release at the spring event. And yes, before you guys ask, I'm aware there should be 8 different model numbers for the iPad Pro range, 4 for each size. However, there is a chance that hasn't been discovered yet. Now, what are my thoughts on this? Well, I do agree with Dave. I do think that these model numbers are for the iPad Pros. However, I'm not sure they're going to release at the spring event. Why do I say this? Well, I don't think the M2 MacBook Air is going to launch anytime soon. I do think that's going to be releasing at the earliest at Dub, but more likely to release in October. And well, I just don't see Apple debuting a Mac chip with the iPad first. That does not make a ton of sense, and so I do think the release of this iPad Pro depends on the release of an M2 Mac. And apart from the MacBook Air, I don't see any of the other M2 Macs releasing at the spring event. Also, do remember that just because we do see these model numbers in the database right now, does not mean they're releasing anytime soon. In fact, it's very common for some products to be filed in the database months before their release, and so while these model numbers are for iPad Pros, they might release later. However, I don't want to dismiss Dave's point. There is evidence that does suggest the iPad Pros could release in the spring as well. For example, the last 2 iPad Pro refreshes have launched in March or April, and so it makes sense this iPad Pro follows suit. Also, do remember that Apple introduced the A14, an iPhone chip, in the iPad Air first, and so we could see that happen again with the iPad Pro. However, alternatively, Gurman has suggested we could see the M1 again in this iPad Pro. Now yes, that would be a bummer, but the iPad really does not need any more power. The M1 is more than fine for a tablet. And also do remember the 2020 iPad Pro did give us an A12Z that was very similar to the A12X. And so there is a chance Apple could give us a slightly tweaked M1 in this. But yes, ultimately I would not be surprised if we do see the M1 in this, especially if we do see a spring release. Anyways guys, tell me your thoughts. Do you think we'll see the M2 iPad Pro launch at the spring event? Anyways, thank you for watching guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out the video in the clip above on details regarding the iPhone 14 series. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya peeps.